Right. I want to give a warm welcome to Viktor Myrefors from Daiwa Scandinavia, right?
Yep. Nice
we're
to be
gonna
here, and thank you for the invitation.
really appreciate your time. We know that February is a hectic month for anyone in the business, given all the sport fishing fairs and the in sales, and so really appreciate the time.
Of
And
course.
we're gonna have a sit down and talk about new gear and products from Daiwa coming up. We're gonna take a small look back at maybe some products that came out during the autumn of 2025, but we're gonna focus on the products that's coming out this spring, summer of 2026.
Yep.
So before we get started, we might need a short introduction to you as a person. So who are you and what do you do for Daiwa?
So my name is Viktor. I've worked in the industry now for, I don't know, almost 10 years. And I would describe myself as a keen perch angler. I like nerdy stuff. And that's why Daiwa suits me very well. I love technologies. I love nerding down into the small details. And at Daiwa, I work with marketing. And sometimes when I'm lucky, I'm also allowed to do some product development. So before that, I worked in a big retailer in Scandinavia, and just a fishing nerd, living my life, my best life in working with a company that I love.
How long have you been at Daiwa?
This will be my I started Daiwa at Daiwa 3 years ago. But I started in the beginning of summer, so this will be my third/fourth year. Started 2023 in June, and now this is I would even say this is the first year where I actually feel okay. Now I can really put my own workflow into the company, my own marketing thinking and product strategy into the company. So this year has been a lot of fun, but like you said, February is a very busy month, especially in marketing with all the new products coming. But that also means that it's a lot of fun for all the customers to see what's coming out from the different brands. And of course, we have many new exciting products as well that we are very proud of. So I'm happy to talk about those today.
Nice. So I guess we have a lot of things to talk about. So let's just dive into it. And I was thinking that we were going to start up with rods, because I know one of my favorite series, the Prorex S, is getting a new lineup or a new edition, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So please let us know.
I will share my screen for those guys watching the video. We have a fancy new website, so why not use it?
Nice. And that's actually a good thing to know, that we're going to talk about a lot of the products, but we're not going to talk about all the products. So obviously, if you guys listening or watching this, if you're interested in seeing more from Daiwa, you can go into their website. I will leave a link in the description to the video, and you can just pop in and scout the website for great stuff.
Yeah, sure. And one thing that is important to know with Daiwa is that we have our own research and development department. So basically, we design our own products from the material and all the way up, and try to find ways to improve people's fishing. Not only bring out the product, but our goal is always to make the fishing experience as enjoyable as possible for anglers. And in Scandinavia, it's quite a special market because we have so many what we call holiday anglers. So we need to we need to find a way to make the fishing enjoyable also for a lot of beginners. If you compare this to, for example, to Japan or USA, where a lot of people are driving big bass boats and have 20 rods on their deck, this is not something that is like that in Scandinavia. And we have many people that are fishing in the summer only in their summer house. And we of course want to tailor to these customers as well, and create products of a very high quality for them to enjoy at the price point that is reasonable. And that's how we come into the Prorex S. So shortly, the Prorex is a sub-brand of Daiwa that is European. It's basically, we are allowed to use high technology production in the Daiwa factories, because Daiwa has their own factories, and create our own products that fit the European market. And this is also where we can create our own Scandinavian products. So this Prorex S is developed by our Scandinavian staff and ambassadors in cooperation with the Japanese engineers, basically. So this is a rod that is our entry rod in the European range of rods, and it's the Prorex S. This is a rod that starts with a recommended retail price of around 80 euros. But of course, in the shops, it's gonna be somewhat cheaper. So think of this as a sub 100 euro rod, and you can most likely find them for a little bit cheaper than even 79 euros, or the longer pike rods are up to 100 euros. So this is really a quality rod for a really good price, and that's something that is important with this rod series, because we want to tailor to these holiday anglers, or for people that want something that is a little bit more nerdy than just a combo with a pre-spooled line and a reel. So we have created a series with quite a few models. This is not very usual in this price range to have this many. I would say not technique specific, but we have really thought about the models. What do we want, or what do we think that people would enjoy when they're fishing different type of fishing? And this is of course tailored to the predator anglers. And the Prorex S has something that's called the HMC plus carbon, and the short story of that this is a very, very light rod for the price. It's a very durable rod. This HMC plus carbon, we have tried it a lot with our ambassadors and different fishing guides, and all of them say that this is the most durable rod that they have ever used. Of course, we have quality components like the Sea guides, but if you look at this is a 7.2 rod that weighs 109 grams. That is probably, if we're gonna talk in euros, most likely 69 or 65 euros in the shops, and that's just something that is in my opinion quite special.
I can actually see the Prorex S, the spinning rod for pike, that is, it has a casting weight between 50 and 110 grams.
Yeah.
And it has a set weight of 145 grams.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really, really light. That is like a perch rod. So
yes, and this is also something that is important for the enjoyment of fishing. You don't want something that feels heavy and really flexible. You want something that feels crispy, even at this price point. And the rod development has come so far the last couple of years. So with our engineers, we have been able to create something that is quite crazy, I would even say, for the price. Of course, a light rod, this is something that I think is very important. A lighter rod doesn't always mean it's a better rod. It's always about the balance between reel and rod. If you have a very light rod and a heavy reel, it's gonna feel very heavy, because it's gonna be butt heavy, and you always have to activate your muscles in the wrists. You never relaxed, and that is quite bad. You get worse sensitivity and you get tired really fast. So the goal is always to have something that a reel and a rod that match together, and that is something that is very, very important when choosing a rod. Also in this price range, we have of course tailored these to our models that we think fit into this price range. So the Ninja, maybe a Fuego, the new Prorex V reel, or even a Freams if you're into a little bit more expensive reels, and the sizes that we think fit here. Of course, depending on the rod, but of course the normal 2000 size all the way up to 3,000 or 4,000 size for the pike reels.
Yeah.
But that's something that I think a lot of people forget. They just look at the weights of the reels and the rods, and then they get it in the hand, and of course on paper it's super light, but in the hand it's not so light. I'd rather have a heavier combo that is good balanced in the hand, so I can relax fully in the hand. And when you're not holding the rod as hard, especially for perch fishing, and then we are getting more and more into finesse fishing in perch, it's very important to have a light grip on the rod. It increases your sensitivity by quite a lot. It's a big difference. So this is something that is very important.
I usually recommend my viewers and my followers to really, if they, because a common thing is that you go into like a store, they give you a really light rod in your hand, and then you feel it and you be like, oh yeah, damn, this feels really great. That always put on the reel that you're going to use with the rod in store, so you definitely feel the balance and how it interacts with the reel that you actually will be using with the rod. For the best type of feedback and information of how it's going to feel and how the balance will be, so you make the best purchase as you can.
Yeah, at Daiwa we also have very strict quality control rules. So even if we could make this 7.2 rod weigh 70 grams, I don't know, probably, we don't do it because it will break. It's very important. Going back again to the enjoyment of fishing, and that's something that we strive for increasing. Yeah. You want your gear to hold up. You want your gear to not be super sensitive. Of course, the more expensive you go, usually the more sensitive the items get, because you use higher ton carbon. We at Daiwa, we use very high ton carbon. And of course, it's going to be more sensitive than a 30-ton blank. But in general, we have very high quality standards where we bend the rods, we test the rod in a very strict way. And if the rod doesn't fulfill our requirements, we don't release it to the market. It's as simple as that. So this is also something that is good to keep in mind. Of course, if it's lighter, the blank is slimmer, everything like that. It has its qualities that are nice, but it's also becomes more sensitive. So that's also something to weigh in. But the Prorex S is a rod series. Let's not go too far away in the rod design world, but the Prorex S is a entry-level rod that should fit the holiday angler, but it should also fit experienced anglers that want to maybe try a new technique, maybe want to try some Carolina fishing, or try, maybe they're going fishing in the archipelago for the first time and they want a light rod for the lighter jiggets in shallow water, or vice versa. They go lake fishing and they need a heavy perch rod for heavy jiggets. The Prorex S fits both of those categories. It's an excellent entry rod that really delivers on that. And I've had a really good time fishing these rods. I've even marked here, I've used this 3 to 40 gram rod quite a lot in the Stockholm archipelago, and it's been excellent. It's super sensitive, crisp, and it does its job, and that's what I think is really, really important in this price range. Otherwise, I've also fished this one. This is a favorite. It's a bait casting rod up to 120 grams. It's based on our very, very popular lazy pike action. And this is an excellent rod for, I would say, all the regular stuff. I would say as a first real pike rod. Many people start with maybe a 40 gram rod or something when they're getting into it, casting these old spoons that weigh 25 to 40 grams. But if you want your first pike rod, throwing these big rubbers and tail baits and jerk baits, this is an excellent rod that is very, very versatile. It's long enough to cast rubber, but it's also short enough to fish with jerk baits. And I know that you have fished the lazy pike quite a lot. So I think that you would agree with me that it's an excellent all-round pike rod in this range. So I think the Prorex S, if you're looking for something entry-level, in my opinion, you cannot get a better rod for the price than this. But of course, I work at Daiwa and I've tried them from the beginning. But don't take my word for it. Go to the shop, feel them out. I love these rods. I think that they are excellent for the price, and they feel much more expensive than they are because they put so much thought in these rods. And like I said, you have the foam here to make it more durable. Maybe you want to keep it. Maybe you only fish in the summer and you keep it in your cabin or something. You don't want to have cork. You want to have something that is really durable, and we have done it here. You have the
durable and lightweight also.
Yeah, lightweight also.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I can imagine that it has been a way of delivering the lighter rods has been the selection of material and how much material you have on the rod. Yeah, if you have, for instance, split handles and those kind of things. So yeah.
Yeah. And of course, ergonomics have been very important. These rods also with a nice reel seat. That was something that we wanted to do. And Daiwa, for Daiwa, reel seats are quite important. We make our own reel seats, the air sensor reel seats in our more expensive rods that are made of carbon fiber. But of course, this cannot fit in this price range. But this is something that is important to us. Again, going back to it should be enjoyable to fish. And I always say, when you have good gear, you don't think about the gear. You just fish. You don't think it's not annoying, and you can just concentrate on catching fish, making the best cast you can do, and everything just works. And in my opinion, this rod goes into that category. You use it; it's the excellent tool for the job, and a really nice rod.
A good thing to know, maybe for those not familiar with the lineups from Daiwa, is that you actually have, I think it's 4 series in the Prorex. You have the Prorex S, the Prorex X, the Prorex XR, and then the high-end version that will be the Prorex AGS or AGS.
Yes.
Where my all-time favorite segment has been the Prorex XR. So for any of you guys looking for something a little bit more high-end and you're more nerdy with the components of a rod, I highly recommend that you check out the Prorex XR series. They have some insanely good rods, and I for instance, I use the long universal 5 to 25 grams, 8 feet for my all-around perch, very light pike fishing and eyed fishing, and it's just been a tank of a rod for anyone looking for something versatile. So definitely check out that series, and it came out in an upgraded version. Was it 2023? I think.
The XR?
Yeah.
Yeah, it came. The latest XR came out end of 2023.
Exactly.
With some updated actions and technologies, of course. The XR is our, I would say, entry level high end, if you know what I mean. This is the first rod where it costs. Where we have the possibility to put in some really, really high-end technologies and use some game-changing Daiwa technologies to make the rod just absolutely outstanding. So if you're into that, or even if you go one step above, you get our air guide system and an even more high-end blank in the AGS series. And the air guide system is basically carbon guides that are very rigid, makes the rod feel much more crisp, and it makes the rod it transmits the vibration from the line much better into the blank, so the rod gets quite a lot more sensitive. And also the guides are very, very light. One guide usually weighs as much as other way around. All the AGS guides weigh as much as one normal guide. I had to think there for a second.
It was math.
yeah, math is always an issue. So that is something that is outstanding and has been a staple in Daiwa rod technology for a long time. And we continue developing the AGS all the time. And the Prorex AGS is the first lineup where you can actually feel the difference. It's something else. I really enjoy them, and I think that they make a difference on the water.
Yeah, I've done a bunch of reviews of other series from Daiwa, so I will leave a link in the description, so you can check out the reviews from a bunch of rods from those kind of series, both the XR and the Prorex, the earlier actually, the Prorex S series. So you can check those out.
Yeah, and this rod is more modern, I would say, than the old Prorex S. The Prorex S was very, very appreciated on the markets. So we decided to make it more modern, make the actions more modern with this series, make the looks more modern. Gun art is green details. It's completely blacked out. It's just some small details, split grip. Feels much more premium than the older one, but still with the same excellent quality for the price. And the Prorex S has also been a staple for many fishing guides around, especially in Sweden. It's a high quality rod that customers can use. They don't break down. They are good, and they are trusted, basically. So this is a very warm recommendation from me. If you're starting fishing and you want to expand, maybe you started during the Corona boom and you want to get into pike fishing or perch fishing, or you want to expand your rod arsenal, try some Prorex S rods. Try them for a season, try them for 2. If you like them, you could check out similar actions in our higher end rod series if you want to take it to the next level. But this is a great stepping stone, and I would also say that many anglers are just happy with this rod, I would say. But I always say that fishing is 2 different hobbies. One hobby is the gear, and one hobby is the actual fishing. and if you only like the actual fishing, this rod is excellent for you. But if you're like me and Mats, and you also like the gear, you should also check out some of our more high-end rods where we have really put in cutting-edge technologies. And for me, at least, it makes fishing more fun. But I know a lot of people, they just want something that works. The Prorex X is excellent for that.
The Prorex S.
The Prorex S. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, when we came into the topic with difference, so what would you say would be the 2 or 3 most major differences if you see the earlier or the last Prorex S version and this new one? What would you say are the biggest differences?
I would say the biggest difference is durability.
Right.
We have really focused here on keeping it very lightweight, but increasing the durability for people to be able to enjoy their fishing and not think about that the rods break down. Right. And I think also that Daiwa has a great reputation in the shops of having very little warranty issues, and that's something that we are very proud of, that our gear actually holds up, and I think that is also because of our very, very harsh quality control. I am not allowed to create a rod or sell a rod that doesn't go through our quality control, because Daiwa is a global brand, and the brand image is very important all over the world. And I don't know any other company that has these hard quality controls. And of course, this is excellent for this rod series as well. As you say in Swedish, this is an excellent slit and sling rod for many anglers, and an excellent entry-level rod where you can expand the rod arsenal and see if you like the technique or the new lures that you're tried or not, or the fishing style. So this is a very, very warm recommendation for me. And as you see, the rod looks very modern, has a good tight lock on the reel, has the open hook keeper that I know Mats likes a lot under, so the line doesn't tangle. Has depending on model, back handle length that we think suits the most people. I'm really happy about this rod. And I think that if you want to try it, you might be quite happy with it as well.
It's going to be fun to, I hope I can get some samples of it and test it out this spring, and so the viewers can get some reviews of it, because it really looks like an interesting rod to test out. And as another note, I have been, one of the things that I really, if I look at me as a fisherman and what I appreciate from Daiwa, is obviously the blank, just as you were talking about. The blank you get for the price ratio, it's like unprecedented when it comes to Daiwa rods. And I actually had the Prorex S, I think it was 6 feet, up to if it was 150 grams, I think. I had that for my casting distance, because the performance of casting and Those kind of things are really, really good in Daiwa rods. So so I'm looking for a new benchmark rod from Daiwa. So it's going to be fun to test some new blanks during 2026 here on the channel. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and this goes back again to that Daiwa has their own research and development. We don't go to a factory and ask them, what can you offer us? We actually develop the stuff that the factories create. And we have our own factories that only create Daiwa rods. And I think that is something that is very special and very important to really make the high quality items. So this is why I like Daiwa products long before I even started at Daiwa. I always thought when you buy a Daiwa reel, you are actually investing in the research of making fishing better. And I think that's still a true statement that Daiwa is a company that drives technology and research forward. And I think that's something that I really enjoy and something that I supported before I started working here. Do you want to go to something a little bit more expensive, maybe? Should we check the other end of the spectrum? The highest.
Why not?
So these are my favorite rods, and this is something for the real tackle nerds out there. I'm sure that you follow the bass fishing, you follow the fishing scene in USA, and then I'm also sure that you have heard about the Steez AGS that are sold in the States and in Canada, and they are widely regarded over there as the best rods on the market. And we have taken some of our favorite actions from that rod series, made them two-piece, and more on that two-piece in a little bit because it's quite special, and brought them over to Scandinavia. And this is the Steez AGS, the USA models. And the Steez AGS is just a state-of-the-art fishing rod. It has everything that Daiwa can offer. So basically, it has the highest end blank that we create. We have, if I'm gonna be completely honest, we have some more stuff that are quite new that make a rod even more high end. But then this is not something that we have in the Scandinavian range because the prices are absolutely crazy for early adopters on that one. But just as a side note, that there are some more. I'm sure that somebody have heard about it and is gonna correct me. So I'm just small asterisk on that one. There are some more technologies built into the blank, but they're still based on this blank technology that is called SVF Compile X or SVS Compile X Nano Plus. And the SVF stands for super voluminous fiber. Basically, the goal with this technology is to reduce the amount of resin as much as possible. And the Compile X then reduces it even more. And less resin makes the rod more sensitive, feels crisper, and has a much nicer recovery time. In the lineup, let's just jump down to the models. This is for perch fishing, not for pike fishing. We have brought in 4 different models that we think are quite nice, and I've tried them all. And these were our 4 favorites that we think suit our fishing the most. And it's the bait casting finesse game specialist, which is a bait finesse rod. Excellent rod, super crisp, very short back handle, and very versatile. Something with these AGS is that they are very versatile. You can use them for a lot. So if you want to fish, for example, a smaller jerkbait on this one, perfectly fine. If you want to do the offset jig heads in the archipelago, excellent rod for that. Light Texas rig, perfect. Or just normal jig fishing with lighter heads. It's super duper for that as well. So very versatile rod for soft baits and extremely well balanced. When you pick this rod up and you put a reel on it, you're going to be, okay, this is how it's supposed to feel. And that was something that I really, really enjoyed when we were working with the USA, with bringing over some of their models. That's oh my God. They have so many anglers over there that put in so much input in the bass tour that fish. I don't know how many days a year they fish, but a lot that have put in their thought into these rods. So these rods are really special. But of course, some of the models don't fit our markets. We don't need a 60-gram jig rod for perch fishing. They do, but we don't. So of course we couldn't bring over all. But the finesse game specialist, all-round bait finesse, also available with the same name. Don't ask me why, but it's a different blank. It's a 7-1. Also very crisp action, excellent for Ned rig, drop shot, lighter jig heads, swim baits, smaller swim baits, and stuff like that. Very versatile finesse fishing. I would say soft plastic finesse fishing rod. And this one can, in my opinion, can handle some smaller jerk baits as well because of the short back handle and the short length. Then we have the rod that is maybe the most known over in the States, and that's the one that's called the One. It's basically a rod that it feels the same when you cast 3 grams than when you cast 21 grams, which is pretty crazy. It's a very wide range of weights, and it can handle all of them. So this is a rod that is longer, so you can fish the Carolina rig, you can fish the Ned rig, you can fish a jig head, heavier jig head, 15-gram jig head. It works. Crazy rod. Super sensitive, and it's a little bit slower or a little bit deeper bend, but the recovery time is still very, very fast, so it feels crisp. But when you're fighting the fish, you can feel it bending very nicely.
I think that would be this is my subjective guess, but I think that the One will be the one for Sweden, and the perch fishing here. I think that will be massively popular out of the lineup. That is just my guess, but it just when I see the specs for it and the length and what it's for, I think that will suit and please a lot of perch anglers here in Sweden, in the Swedish market. So, and that's a great thing that coming up to mind with. I know that me as a pike angler, I know all the influences that has come from the States. A lot of things with building lures and different kind of lures, new lures, soft baits, and what have you. There's a lot of influences coming from the States, and how would you say, if you correlate between the influences from bass fishing that's coming over to Scandinavia, what type of influences are coming over, and do you think will be more how can you say more present during 2026? What kind of trends do you think will come from the States and will be more present during 2026?
I think that you saw last year with the hover strolling and mid strolling, mainly with the pintails and the jig head, has become quite well. A lot of big fish have been caught on that technique. I think that I hope that we start fishing a little bit more with fluorocarbon. I think that's a trend that I think has its place for perch fishing also.
In what way? Sorry. In what way do you think?
So fluorocarbon is, of course, I would not say that it's not invisible in the water like many think, but it's less visible than braid for sure. But the main thing for me with fluorocarbon is that it is quiet underwater. If you dive underwater, I have done it a lot, but I film a lot underwater when the lures are moving. Yeah. And every time, for example, you fish a jerkbait or a twitch bait, like then you hear the braided line underwater. Yeah. And when you move over to fluorocarbon, it becomes completely silent. You only hear it pushing the water. The line makes no noise at all. Then of course it has other good things that it has. The stretch doesn't mean that it's not sensitive, but the stretch mainly helps you when you're fighting the fish. It gives a little bit more puffer when you're fighting the fish, and I think now we have white big perch in the archipelago, and you need to think when you're going for the big perch, you need to think a little bit about the gear you're using. They are really tough. They're fighting hard. They're going into the grass. And they have hard mouths, so you need to think a little bit about your gear, more than maybe a couple of 10 years ago when we were very, very happy about the 1 kilo perch. Now suddenly people are chasing 2-3 kilo perch, which is absolutely crazy. And the fluorocarbon is a great tool for that. And also, a lot of people are afraid that it's not as sensitive. I say it's very sensitive, but it feels a little bit different. It's a little bit duller. So when you get used to it, you feel every bite for sure. Of course, it's not the right choice when you do jig fishing on 8 meters of water, because you need a direct contact, and there's too much line bow because the fluorocarbon sinks. So when you fish, for example, a slackline technique, like a free rig that is very popular, where you lift the lure and then you give the lure slack so that the bait falls straight down, or the weight falls straight down, and then the lure follows, and when the weight hits the bottom, the lure stops and slowly, naturally goes down to the bottom. That's a slackline technique, and the fluorocarbon actually has more sensitivity in slackline than braid. So that's also something that is very important. So when you use these very modern techniques, some techniques really appreciate using a fluorocarbon, both for sensitivity but also for presentation. So I think that fluorocarbon is something that is growing in Sweden. Trend-wise, when it comes to lure, it's really hard to say, because I don't think that the 2026 trends are set completely yet in the States and in Japan. But you can see that there are a lot of soft plastics being created for these modern techniques, I would say, in perch fishing. So in pike fishing, I think that smaller lures are getting more and more popular. And I think one of the reasons for that is that the live scope, first of all, a lot of people use smaller lures and catch really big fish with smaller lures. But another reason is that a lot of people that came into fishing during COVID, for example, they bought a ready-made combo up to 40 or 50 grams or something like that. And they have only been able to fish with smaller lures. So the rod only allows them to fish with smaller lures. And they've had great success. And we can see the pike coming back to our archipelago slowly but steadily again. And the smaller lures are very effective in those scenarios. So for pike, I think that downsizing is making a comeback. And for perch fishing, I think that more nerdy techniques are getting more popular. But I'm hoping that we can adopt fluorocarbon as mainline more during 2026.
So maybe that's the thing that all you guys out there that are perch anglers, maybe the more important thing, because a lot of people are like, oh, I need like this rod and this rod and this setup because I need one rod for Texas and Carolina, I need another one for twitch bait or whatever. Maybe you should more think, I need one setup with braided line and one setup with fluorocarbon. Maybe that's what you should aim to have in your boat, to really start to learn how the different lines interact with your lures, instead of just thinking a lot of different rods and reels, and just think about 2 setups with one fluorocarbon and one braided line.
Yeah, and one tip if you want to start trying to use fluorocarbon is don't skimp out. Spend some money on the fluorocarbon because it's quite important. And buy something that is a little bit softer, so it's easier to cast. For me, for example, I fish so much fluorocarbon now. I only get backlashes when I'm fishing with braid on the bait caster for perch nowadays, and I don't know why. It's a different style of casting, so it's not so hard. It's just a learning curve, and I think that it has a lot of good possibilities to use the advantages of fluorocarbon in our perch fishing, especially in the highly pressured east coast of Sweden, both Kalmar, but also all the way up to Gävle or Stockholm. It's getting pressure there, so small details make a big difference. So fluorocarbon is something that I think that is a very interesting line to try. And
maybe that's an episode we could actually. Maybe that's an episode we could actually film together.
Sure.
And just both how you use fluorocarbon, as you were talking about, you've been using it so much you don't get back, because that's one thing that happens to me a lot when I'm using fluorocarbon. I get a lot of backlash and I think my casting is poor. So maybe we should just put ourselves together in the boat and just go through the differences and see how you use fluorocarbon. That would be a great episode, I think, and a lot of people would appreciate it, I think, too.
Of course, but I just want to make a disclaimer. Fluorocarbon, in my opinion, on spinning reels is not so nice. Just so you know. If you are a spinning reel guy, if you really want to try fluorocarbon, you need to go very thin, like usually the fluorocarbons are in pound. So like 6 or 8 pound, that's like 0.23, 25, somewhere there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go much thicker than that on a spinning reel. I would say that this makes much more sense on a bait caster. So if don't take my word as a rule if you have a spinning reel, because it can be quite annoying fishing fluorocarbon on a spinning reel. And also if you want to try some fluorocarbon, it's also quite important that different thicknesses have different applications. That's quite important. So it's I would say like 10 or 12 pound, which is like 0.28 to 0.30 millimeter fluorocarbon is a good all-round strength of the fluorocarbon if you want to try it. So that's just a tip. And with Daiwa reels, I would say it's quite easy to cast it. Actually, we have casting brake technology that's basically centrifugal and magnetic at the same time. So the faster the spool spins, the more the metal that is on the spool on a spring goes to the magnets. So when it spins really, really fast in the beginning of the cast, you get maximum braking. And then when the spool slows down, the centrifugal force allows the metal to come back to the spool slowly, and you get less and less braking strength. And that's important to get good and secure casts. And Daiwa bait casters are also very easy to, the settings are very easy. You never have to open it, and you just use it with the magnetic. And even on some, I would say mid-range and up, we have something that's called zero adjusters. You're not even supposed to touch the spool tension on the reel. It's already set in the factory. So it's basically, once again, going back to it, should be as enjoyable and easy to do fishing as possible. So that's also something that makes sense. With Daiwa reels, it's quite easy, I would say, to get into this. Just crank the braking up, and then you will cast to the right or to the left because of the braking, and you will come 10 meters, and then every cast you take one tick down. So Daiwa starts at 20. So you start at, I don't know, 20 is a little bit overkill, but start at 16 or 17. Make a cast, and you're going to feel, oh shit. This is the same with braid, by the way. Oh shit, if you're new to beginner. And then you say, oh shit, now I didn't come anywhere. Take one tick down. Cast again. Oh shit, I didn't come anywhere. Then you tick all the way down until you feel, oh, that was close, that I got a backlash. Then you go back one step up again, and then you can just set and forget it there. It doesn't matter if you change lure weight or something like that. The reel will adjust for that itself. It's not like the old ambassador style when every time you change lure, you need to change the spool tension so the lure drops slowly to the water. You don't need to do that anymore with modern bait casters. So if you haven't tried a bait caster, it's super easy, and it's all about taking your time to find the right settings on the reel for you. So I usually say 5 minutes with a Daiwa reel, and you can cast a bait caster without an issue. And the heavier the lures, the easier it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Back to the Steez rods.
Yeah. So I said about the two-piece that it is a little bit special, and Daiwa has something that's called V-joint. And what V-joint is, it's also available on the XR rods, Mats, so you have probably felt it as well. This is a little bit more fancy, but the ferrule on the rods, they don't interrupt the rod action. So the rod bend goes through the ferrule, like the ferrule is where you connect the two pieces, basically. So it performs and feels like a one-piece rod, but it's actually two-piece. And this is a Daiwa technology that we have developed. And I must say, it's very, very nice. This V-joint, especially for the longer sea trout rods, and for these very specific, technique-specific rods where the sensitivity is very important, this V-joint is a game changer. It feels like a one-piece rod. It really does. So this is something that I would like to highlight, because if you see a V-joint, you know that it's very high-quality ferrule that's not going to break, and it's going to bend through the ferrule. So next time you're in a shop and you're looking for a new rod and you see, I think XR and up has it in the Daiwa rods, just take the rod and try bend through the ferrule on the V-joint rod. Then take a different rod from a different brand and try and bend it, and you're going to feel it's completely stiff in the ferrule, but on the Daiwa V-joint rod, it bends. That really makes a difference. So for me, these rods perform just as well as the one-piece rods. And I think that, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, is this something that, because, and this is just me guessing here, but in the States, there is a lot of like people appreciate or seem to appreciate one-piece rods. Is this something where you wanted to please the market in the States, or is this something that is just overall?
This is a global technology that mainly was made for the Japanese market in the beginning. In Japan, a lot of rods are two-piece or butt section splits. But it fits the Scandinavian market extremely well because we can make two-piece rods that perform like one-piece rods. I would say, if we're going to be completely honest, the biggest benefit with a one-piece rod is that it's very durable. You can never make a ferrule that is as durable as a one-piece rod. But then we can go and take it one step further. It's not often that the rod breaks in the ferrule anyways. I fished a lot of days, and Mats, you have fished a lot of days. Have you ever experienced that your rod broke in the ferrule? No. No matter what brand. I think maybe once or twice in fly fishing I have broken in the ferrule. But that's because I was stupid, not because of the rod. I think that this argument nowadays is a little bit obsolete. I think that two-piece rods, especially Daiwa two-piece rods, have come so far. So I challenge people to feel the notice between a one-piece and a two-piece. I don't think you can. At least I can't. Maybe I'm bad. I don't know, but I cannot feel it. But I challenge you to feel it because I don't think you can. No. So that's something that is very important, in my opinion, for our two-piece rods, that they are just excellent. And I don't know if you have noticed that. I know you thought that you hooked a bream one time, but it was a pike. That was a good bet.
Yeah.
That was the Daiwa rod.
Yeah, that was we were testing the Prorex AGS together with Arvid Tuvlin, the great guide, and a friend of ours. So yeah, it was a special feeling. It just
So this is at least this V joint is something that I enjoy a lot in the rods, and this is not something that just on the paper. Oh, this feels so fancy. Oh, this looks so fancy. This makes a difference. I promise you. This is very, very nice, especially on longer rods that are a little more wimpy, like deeper bend rods, glass fiber rods, sea trout rods. Makes a big difference, and of course also for the rods where we want to maximize sensitivity, like these Steez rods. This is a very, very tight fit, so very slim joint that increases handling and makes it feel like a one-piece rod. So, nice. But with the versatility of being two-piece or even four-piece in some cases.
I'm allergic to one-piece because it doesn't fit my way of storage and traveling. So I don't like 1+1 piece where you have it by the butt, split it by the butt, and I like when it's split in the midsection. So I'm a two-piece person. So this technology is really appreciated. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's made a major difference to my fishing and my experience, but it definitely, just as you mentioned, if you bend it, you can definitely feel the difference between a more stiffer and a rod that doesn't have the technology. So yeah.
Great. Should we talk a little bit about reels, maybe?
Reels. Yeah, sure.
We have some sea trout rods new for this season, and so, but maybe we should. I don't know how many people are interested in sea trout in Europe, but we have, for example, new Luvias rod series for sea trout. That if you're into sea trout, check that one out. It's our entry level high end again. That is excellent for sea trout.
And people are more than welcome to go into your webpage and see all the news that you have. So, but I really think that there's actually one reel that I've been really pumped about that I heard. I actually bought. It's my favorite spinning how maybe you want to call it, brand on or lineup in at Daiwa, and it's the Freams. I actually bought another one. I've had a bunch of them, and I bought another one because I'm going away abroad, and I'm going to fish in salt water for different kind of species, and I think 3Ms is just a perfect all-rounder. So and then I had a discussion with you, and you said that oh, maybe you should have waited for a couple of weeks, and you could have get the new Freams, and I was still happy to get it, but I'm super pumped to hear more about it because it's getting a new lineup for 2026. So please tell us more.
So basically, the short story is that the Freams has received the air drive treatment. It now comes with air drive design. Air drive design is basically our development and research department found a way to make a rotor and the parts that affect how easy to spin the handle to make it as light as possible, so it's as easy as possible to spin it, but still increase the strength by 30%. So that's pretty crazy. That's like the opposites but combined. So we have a stronger rotor, bail, and drive system. This one doesn't have the drive. That's for the more expensive reels. But this one has the rotor and bail that is stronger but lighter, which makes absolutely no sense. Don't ask me. I'm no engineer. But air drive design is extremely nice, especially when you do a lot of stop and go fishing. It's just a game changer to have this very light and almost non-existent startup inertia. Usually when you, on the old Freams, for example, it's extremely smooth. Of course, it's a Daiwa reel. It works perfectly fine. But every time you start reel, you have this a little bit startup before you get going. And with the air drive treatment, that startup has been removed. This air drive design was developed for the 22 Exist in the beginning. It was released there, and it's several different parts. So there's 4 parts of the air drive design right now. It's the rotor, it's the bail, it's the spool, and it's the shaft. And this one has rotor and bail, basically the important parts for making it easy to spin.
How is it with because you have the Fuego, and that has some of the air drive technologies, right?
Yes, it has the spool and the bail. But
that's a good thing to know. There's actually this technology is actually available in like one step down in price range, and that's in the new Fuego, right? Because it's the Freams is it over the Fuego or
it's over the Fuego?
Yeah, exactly.
So no, it has also the rotor and the bail. I was lying. So it has the similar design, air drive design in both of these reels. But of course the Freams has different materials and of course a little bit nicer and other technologies as well. But basically one thing that is really cool with the Daiwa reels is that since we have our own development and have our own factories, it's very easy for us to create a nice technology like the air drive design and then very fast let it trickle down in the price ranges. 2022 this was released with air drive design. 2023 Ninja received some parts of it. 2023 Fuego received some parts of it, and just make the reel a lot nicer without making it too expensive. I mean, even the Crossfire, which is the lowest end reel that we have, or one of the lowest end reels, has air drive design. But back to the Freams. So basically, the Freams has this Scion V, which is a carbon material that is extremely stiff and very, very light. Which is for our lighter reels. Before we get to magnesium, this is like the material used for lightweight reels for perch fishing or for sea trout fishing. Material that is often used for the more heavy duty reels is aluminium. or aluminum, or however you say it in English. But for the lightweight stuff, we use the Cyan V. Of course, the Freams also is in our light and tough reels. Basically, our reels are very small and compact, but still as strong as the big ones. MagSeal, of course. MagSeal is a pretty cool thing, actually. It's a magnetic oil. So instead of having a plastic bushing to prevent water to get into the reel, there are magnets around the shaft, if you have it on the shaft, or around the different entry points of the reel for water. There is oil in there that is magnetic, and then you have magnets around it. So it's oil that shuts the reel closed. So there is no resistance in moving parts in the oil, but no water can come in, because a plastic bushing, of course, gives resistance, but the MagSeal doesn't. So it's very, very cool. Very cool technology. Of course, that's the 80D drag, very famous drag from Daiwa that is extremely good. And maybe the biggest difference between the Fuego and the Freams is that it has tough digigear. Basically, the pokes in the reel, what do you say? And the inside of the reel, sorry, I don't know the English word, is very, very precisely manufactured. So everything fits super nice together, which makes it stronger, more durable, and smoother. Of course, it has some other things like twist buster and stuff like that. But tough digigear is maybe the biggest difference between Fuego and Freams.
So is this also the biggest difference from the older Freams and the new one? That it has this tough digigear and the air drive technology, or are there anything else that is like a major difference from the version that came up before this update?
I don't want to swear on if I don't remember if the old Freams had tough digigear. I'm unsure. I can check maybe fast. The biggest difference is at least the air drive design. That's it has received the air drive treatment, as we call it internally in Daiwa. But give me 1 second, I will actually check, because tough digigear is something that is introduced in this price point. So I am not 100% sure. Can check here. Oh, the old one had the tough digigear also, but this one has the Cyan V, which is a different material than the old one, lighter, stronger. It has the air drive design. It has an improved brake. So the old one had the 80D drag. This one has the newer 80D Type L drag, which is extremely smooth. It's the same one as on Exist. And also, of course, the old one has a graphite rotor. This one, we have the air drive rotor, basically. Those are the main differences. And then, of course, this one has Twist Buster, which is basically a line management system. So it has slightly better line management than the old one. But I would say if you only say one thing, it's the air drive design. Is what makes when you feel, if you have two Freams in your hands and you try the old one and try the new one, what you're feeling, the difference you're feeling is the air drive design. So that's the main difference.
And the looks are obviously totally different. The old one had more silver and gold. This goes more in black, parts chrome, and gold. A little bit of gold. So the looks are completely different, I would say.
Yeah, nice reel. Very, very good if you want something in the mid-range. You want something a little bit more fancy than the entry, but you don't want to spend too much. This is a workhorse reel.
Yeah,
it's really, really good reel.
What are the specs for the? Because I'm as a pike fisherman, I'm obviously interested in the 4000. Do you have the specs? Maybe I can just see the. So it has 5.2 through 1 in the gear ratio.
I think the gear ratio is something that is doesn't always mean the same. So I think people need to start checking the centimeters. The gear ratio is important, but as you see here, 5.2 gear ratio on a smaller reel is 68 centimeters. 5.2 gear ratio on a bigger reel is 82 centimeters. It's the same in bait casters. If you have a big bait caster with 5.2 or 6.3 gear ratio, it pulls in more line per crank than the same gear ratio in a smaller reel. So that's something that gear ratio is important, but even more important is how much centimeter of line it brings in. And 82 centimeters is a little bit faster than 6.3 in a bait caster.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm. You can for me, I can divide it into like two different sections. One being the how will it affect the lure and how fast it comes in and all those kind of things when you regarding to fishing technique.
Yeah.
The other one is like if you see us at the reel as a motor and you drive a car and you drive on low gear, if you go uphill, it like takes the uphill or the tougher road easier and with less noise. And it's the same thing for me when I really like low gear ratios on reels just for the experience of how much power you actually have when you reel in the lures. So that's why I'm a big fan of low gear ratio. So 5.2 is like a basic gear ratio. So it's I wouldn't go as far as say it's low because then I would say you need to go under 5. You know, I go a lot with like PG version, also power gear versions when I pick my spinning reels. So I'm all the way down to like 4.4 or 4.7. That is my, as a fisherman or a pike fisherman, that's really a sweet spot for me. But then it all depends on gear. So if you have gear that is more optimized, you can actually get great power, but on higher gear ratio. So and that is actually I'm super pumped to test the Freams, but there's actually another how you say an add-on to a reel that has already came out, and that's the Tatula 200, and I think it would get actually a more low gear ratio version. So please tell us more.
So the Tatula 200 is our, I would say, staple pike fishing reel. And this is a new website. I'm not 100% sure if it's updated with the new products, but usually we sell the 6.3 gear ratio in 200 sizes. It's equivalent to 5.3 on a 300 size, like the normal Tatula 300. So it's like the middle size for most pike anglers. But we have now released a slower gear ratio, a 5.3 gear ratio on a 200 size. And these are the power models. P stands for power. And basically we have a real smaller compact size that you can fish really slow with tail baits or curly tails or something like that. So that's something that we haven't had yet, and it's something that I'm super pumped about for this spring, to have something with very little line pull-in or whatever you say. And as you can see, I think the 4000 Freams had 82 centimeters. This has 63. 20 centimeters per turn, that's quite a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a big difference.
Sure.
And it's, in my opinion, not everybody agrees, everybody's different, but in my opinion, it's always easier to speed up than slow down, for me, personally. So I like the a little bit slower ones. Otherwise, I stand there in the spring and I crank like it's middle of summer with a chatterbait for perch, and I cannot help myself. So for me, it's very good to have a slow gear issue to calm down, and then I can start thinking about the nice nature and hopefully setting the hooks instead of slowing down. So for me, this is quite nice, and I think the Tatula 200 has been very, very good reel for me, at least. It has the T-wing, which is quite special. Let's see if I can see it on a picture here. If the T-wing is the line
guide
on the reel.
Yeah.
And basically what it is that when you press the thumb button to open the line guide or to start the cast, it folds down and makes it wider, so you get less friction when the line spools off the spool. And that's all good for perch fishing and for the bass anglers in Japan. That's great. You get a little bit the better casting distance. It's easier to handle. But for pike reels, it makes a huge difference, because what it makes is that you can move the line guide closer to the spool and make the reel more compact without losing any strength. So this reel palms incredibly well. Weighs nothing, is extremely strong in aluminium, like airplane grade aluminium, and has this hyperdrive design, so you feel the power in the reel when you work it. And it feels so nice in the hand. So if you pair this reel with a light pike fishing rod, not necessarily low casting weight, but a lightweight one, you can have a combo that weighs like a perch combo. It's absolutely crazy, and I love this one with the 8-foot 120-gram models in all of our lineups. Yeah. It's usually what I do is, for example, if I go to Vänern in the spring, we fish big lures pelagically. I use the heavy Prorex AGS big all-round. I'm a perch angler, so my shoulders get tired. I pick up the Lazy Pike 120-gram with a 200 size and 0.28 millimeter line. And it's like fishing for perch. It's absolutely crazy. I love it. Excellent also reel for anglers that still do the active jerkbait fishing. Yeah, I'm jerking on a reel. I know you, Mats, you're a little bit more active with the rod. A lighter rod just makes it so much more enjoyable. So this is something that I think that 200 size is the correct size for pike fishing, for the normal stuff, pike fishing. And the only downside with it is that when you go up to the really heavy stuff, you want to have thicker line, mainly because if you get the backlash, you don't want to lose your expensive handmade lure or something like that. Then I go up to a 300 size to have like 0.35 millimeter braid on it, and I can get enough line on it. But every time you want to use 0.28, which is more than enough for pike fishing. I know Christian Keskitalo uses 200 size and 0.28 for all of his pike fishing. Yeah, I don't fully agree with him. Maybe he's a better caster, but I don't dare to do that. But he has never had any problem. But like when it goes, 150, 180, 200 gram lures, a little bit on preference, I go up to 300 size and thicker line. But all other fishing is done on the 200.
But I think because I fished a lot with 200 size, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but the spool is pretty shallow on the Tatula, so you actually have a great line capacity on it also.
Yeah.
So because I usually go for like 0.28 millimeters of braided line on it, and it has been no problem to get the amount of line that I've been needing for it. So I don't think people should be discouraged if they like to use thicker line on. And as you see, the recommendation is 0.33 at 170 meters. So it has a great line capacity. So
and all I can say is that I fit with some backing. I fit the full spool of 0.28 J-braid Expedition on this reel.
Yeah.
No issue. So you have enough. It's no problem. And this new gear ratio just allows me now to really slow it down in the spring as well. Because if we're gonna be completely honest with ourselves, there are not many people that only throw these 300 gram rubbers. A lot of us have them, but they spend a lot of time in the box. Let's if we're gonna be completely honest.
Or trolling.
So most of us are fishing these, I would say 80 to 120 gram lures. That's like the bulk of our pike fishing. And then there are some situations, of course, where we want to go up one step and do the pelagic big profile fishing. Then maybe go up to a 300, but the bulk is 80 to 120 gram lures. That's even, I think a 25 centimeter pike lure is usually around 100 gram for the rubber. The 200 size is perfect for that. And don't be afraid. 0.28 is more than enough. This is a very, very easy reel to handle because of the Myrefors braking system. It has an extremely smooth drag with the Ultimate Tournament drag, which is basically made to fight the fish on the drag. Usually, bait casters are not, they just want as high number as possible, but it's impossible to fight the fish on the drag. You can see in many videos people are opening the thumb button and fighting the fish on the thumb without the brake. This one you can fight the fish on the brake. It has hyperdrive design, extremely stiff housing with the hyper armed housing, so it feels compact and really nice. And it has the T-wing, so it's more compact without losing any strength. And then it has this little butt here. I don't know, it looks like a small butt on top of the reel. And for my hand, my thumb just fits perfectly into that. It's so nice. And very, very ergonomic. Maybe you see it better here. You can see here it goes like a small butt here. Yeah. My thumb just lays perfectly in that one, and I really, really enjoy fishing this reel. Easy to use, has the long cast spool as well, just allows for longer casts. And I think that the old 18 Tatula 200 is a reel that many people have on their pike fishing rods out there in Scandinavia, and this one just takes that up one notch. So if you want something for a 100, I would say up to 150 gram rod, I really recommend trying a 200 size, specifically a diver reel, because of the TVS system. It's really strong. After that, it's not that the reel cannot handle it, it's just that this reel is so light. So when you're going up to these 200 gram rods, the rod balance is better with a bigger reel.
Yeah,
in my
good
opinion.
Point.
So
and one, if I made a big test of 200 size reels, and that is I would say the only drawback, and that this is for me personally. I know you have a different opinion about it, but I just want to lift it up with all my followers, because a lot of people know me through my channel and know what I like, and that would be the actual braking capacity of 6 kilos. I would love to see it would bump up to like at least 8 kilos. That would be like the next best thing for me to see in a 200 size reel, that you really get a strong break. Because I, as a pike fisherman, really appreciate when I set the hook, I almost detest when a line goes out and you hear that bit, because the braking power just doesn't have the stopping. And then when fighting and then I don't need a stronger brake for the fighting, but it's just that thing with setting the hooks. And that was the benchmarking that I had with all the 200 size reels. And that's why I usually go up to 300 size, even though I'm fishing with lighter gear, is because I really want that like hard braking power. So if this is just my personal, if Daiwa would do me a favor personally, and I doubt that they will, but it would be that would be a thing that I really, really would appreciate. You just bump it up like 2 kilos, and it would be.
I hear you. This is something that not for my fishing, but for making it more sellable, because for some reason, and especially in Sweden, people look at the drag of reels and say, "Oh, look at this reel. It has 15 kilo drag. This must be a good reel." And I don't agree with that. But of course, I agree with you. We have talked about this off camera many times. And if we're gonna be completely honest with your followers, if you're going for the big rubber baits, where you need to move, we're talking big rubber, we're not talking 23 centimeter rubber. We are talking like 4.0 hooks or 3.0 hooks, a 30 centimeter bait that weighs, there's a lot of rubber that you need to rip out of the mouth of the pike before you set the hook. Go up to a 300 Prorex or a Tatula. In my opinion, for jerk baits, tail baits, any hard baits, there is no slip at all in this reel, because there's nothing that you need to move. You set the hook so easy if you have short hooks. For smaller pike baits, I would say 16, 20, 23 centimeter. In my opinion, there's no slippage either, because there's not so much rubber that you need to move out. But when you use a really stiff rod, and you're a strong man like Mats, yeah, and you set the hook like a maniac, yeah, sure, it might slip. But I've never heard anybody say, I wasn't able to set the hook because of the reel. I've never heard
it has never been about not setting it. It's just that it's just that like spinal reflex feeling that you're just going for. Because actually I tried in my early days when I was testing a lot of spinning reels, I tested Okuma reels a lot, and they have pretty poor. They were great reels, great price to what you get ratio and everything that. But they had pretty weak breaks. So, and I watched my videos and I started to hear that zit when I set the hooks, and then it started to be like a mind fuck for me that you know I was losing some fish, and why wasn't it like setting it properly, and I started to feel the difference between Daiwa reels and Shimano reels with greater breaking power, and that's when I like, okay, when I fish, I need that stronger breaking power for just setting the hook. And it became so obvious when I really tested, because I tested, I think it was like 10 different 200 size reels from different brands. And it was all the same thing, with obviously different quality of the braking, because everything is in power. A lot is the quality of the braking system, that it doesn't hack out or that it's even. So there was a lot of things going on, but just that spinal reflex feeling that I want to feel that it just sets it. So that's why it's been important for me, and it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to joining you in the boat, and we will obviously test out the Prorex S rods, I hope, and we will test out this Tatula 200, and I will make a review of it, hopefully, for all you guys that are sitting here. It will be fun to see what Mats and Pike Knights thinks about it. So really looking forward to that.
And just a small thing about the drag strength is that for me, like I said, there's anyway a reason to go up to a bigger reel because of balance. When you start using the really big lures, then you get the stronger. And we have 13 kilo break on the bigger reels, and in my opinion, I don't know if you agree with me, Mats, but in my opinion, when you fish the jerk baits and you fish the smaller rubbers, there is no slippage for me. But maybe I'm not strong enough, so I don't see it as a problem. The only problem I see, personal trainer and stuff. Nobody can compete with you. But I think that the big advantage of a reel like this is the ease of use, sure. It makes such a big difference. You know, I made some fun checks. I checked some 300 size reels both from Daiwa and competitors, and just see how much they weigh. And if you take a 200 reel and an AGS rod, the whole combo weighs less than the reel. Like the standard weight of a reel. So this is the big advantage, and I don't see the 6 kilo as a problem. I understand this feeling. Of course, everybody loves. You feel it, boink, you set the hook, and it feels like you set the hook into a rock or something. Everybody loves that feeling, but you get this feeling with the jerk bait. You get this feeling with smaller rubbers and everything. The 6 kilo break is not an issue like that. And I mean, Christian Keskitalo catches many big pikes. Anders Cruz the same, and they only use 200. Doesn't matter how big lure they use, they only use 200 reel because they see for them it's a bigger advantage of the smaller palming size and everything than having a 13 kilo break. So I sometimes have to force them to use the 300 size, so they show that it's a good reel, because it really is. But if they could choose, they would only use the 200 basically. So don't be afraid of the 6 kilo break. It's not an issue. It's super smooth, and it has. I've never heard that we have sold 200 size reels actively for. I think since at least 2018 was when the smaller sized reels from Daiwa became very popular, and I've never heard anybody say I wasn't able to set the hook because of the breaking strength. No. But it's of course it's personal preference. As usual.
Sure. And this is actually a good thing that when we're talking about, because this is very important for me as a middle-aged man and a person that really enjoys fishing for long sessions. I love summer when I just go fishing for like 14 hours straight. And the thing with balance and weight, and this has been so obvious because there's so many times that I've been fishing with friends in the boat, and they have different type of gear. I am meticulously I'm like doing the research and really finding gear with great balance. It's super important for me as a fisherman. And so balance and casting performance, that is like super important. And that's where great blanks comes into play, and great balance, the things that Daiwa and other bigger brands really go a great length to try out. And what happens is when you stand for these like 14 hours a day, I'm not casting 300 grand lures for 14 hours straight. I'm obviously fishing lighter lures, otherwise I would be a mess. But when I'm standing there fishing, my friends start to go like sitting down in the boat, and I'm so tired in the shoulders. And I'm like, I told you, you need a little bit of a longer rod, maybe a little bit of a lighter rod, and you don't want that heavy gear and heavy casting, because they have like 0.36 line, shorter like jerkbait rods, and they are standing and trying to throw soft baits. And obviously, they don't get any help with the casting performance, so they cast shorter distance with more effort from muscles and shoulders, and they're just a mess. And after like 3 or 4 hours, they're like, "Oh, can we go ashore? I don't want to fish anymore. I got like I want 10 more hours of this. I'm so happy to be out on the water." So that's the thing that you as followers and you listening to this pod or looking at the video, really take that with you, that if you're feeling tired in the boat, or if your back hurts and those kind of things, maybe it's time to check out balance and quality of the products that you're using, because it doesn't have to be, but it can be a product specific problem. So, and that is something that I personally really has noticed, because obviously I'm testing gear that I personally maybe wouldn't choose, because I want to make a review out of it. And I can really feel the difference when, okay, this rod doesn't help me when I'm casting, or this rod is really, I have to push it out harder, and I have to work more with my own body instead of using the rod and the setup. So that is just a personal tip to anyone listening, that really emphasize to check out balance and casting performance, because it will help and will make you, just as you were talking about, you want your fishing experience to be pleasantly and a great time. So yeah.
I fully agree, and I think that people are looking too much on weight of items instead of the balance, and I think that's it's a marketing issue. The industry have always said, "Oh, this is the lightest rod. This is the lightest rod." Of course, you want something that is the lightest, but check when you buy a new rod. Doesn't matter if it's Daiwa or something else. Check it with a reel in the shop. Feel it out. You shouldn't have to activate. It should just lay in your hand. All your muscles should be relaxed when you hold it. That's how you can fish for many long hours. And I know some people that fish so much that I don't know, maybe Gäddjägaren, Fredrik Bäcksvart.
Yeah.
He cannot use a spinning reel anymore because he's fishing too much, and the movement of a spinning reel is too big. So his shoulders and back are getting destroyed, and he can only use smaller bait casters. So there are many good things with.
That's actually a funny thing, because after I tested, I fished so much with 200 size reel and bait casters, and obviously they are a little bit smaller, so handling was in a specific way. And then I went over and started fishing with 400 size reels against spinning reels, and I actually felt my forearm and stuff, and I was like, why am I being so tired? Because it's just a different kind of beast. So I can totally agree. We need to move on, because we have some more exciting news. Talking about bait casters, I think you had some great news and some.
Now, when we're talking about 200 size, maybe we should talk about a completely new 200 size that just came to Scandinavia like 1 or 2 days ago, and that's the new Ryoga. And the new Ryoga is state of art. If you like these smaller size reels, you like fishing like the same situations where you would use a Tatula 200, but you want something that's extremely high end and also round, then the Ryoga is something for you. And this is really cool. It still has this hyperdrive. It has a hyper tough clutch, which makes more durable and more safe when you're casting. So the thumb button doesn't go up. I've never heard anybody in Sweden talk about it, but in Finland they say it's very important. But I've never. I did before I started at Daiwa. I didn't even know that it existed. So this is something with the that it has. Of course, it has a zero shaft, so it's so big spool support in this one, and it's so incredibly smooth and very nice looking. And something that is very important with, I would say, all Daiwa reels, but with this one in particular is the casting systems again. It makes it so easy to use our Daiwa reels. You never have to open up the side and push out some centrifugal small parts if you change the weight, because in pike fishing we change the weight a lot. We can easily go from 50 gram to 150 gram on the same rod. Yeah. And with other reels, you need to open up and you need to fix and you need to tighten or loosen the spool tension. But with Daiwa reels, you don't have to do that. And that's something that is very, very special. And this one has a very sophisticated casting system, a Mag4C boost casting system, which gives you full control when you're fishing in maybe the archipelago and you want to short precision casts in the weeds. But it also has a long cast spool. So it also is optimized for extremely long casts. So when you're fishing pelagically and you want to do this, bomb these really long casts out over deep water, this reel really performs well. Has a big handle, big handle knobs, and this is just creme de la creme for pike fishing. And it just arrived. I think it came out in the shops earlier this week. So this is completely new.
What is the pedigree of the Ryoga? It feels like it's very Japanese. Does it come from like sea bass fishing in Japan, or what type of?
It's made. There are two different models. There's a 100 size that is made for we don't have it in our lineup. It's made for super deep crankbaits, like go 8-9 meters. You know that it's crazy drag on those lures. Right. This one is made for swim bait fishing.
Okay.
So big swim baits. I'm sure many of us use these Japanese swim baits for pike fishing. Yeah. So big light baits, big rubber baits. That's what this one is made for. So it's made for big soft lures and big jerk baits and glide baits and stuff like that. So that's what it's made for.
So when you define big, is because it's still a 200 size reel. I think the name, so people don't get confused. It's the Ryoga 150. So it's named 150, but it's an actual 200 size type of reel. So people don't get confused with it.
No.
So would you say like 100 and 150 grams? Is that how you define a big swim bait, or even bigger?
I would say it can cast as heavy as you want. The biggest restriction here is line capacity. So you cannot put on 0.35, or you can, but you will only get like 60 or 80 meters on it, which is enough. But if you make a 50-meter cast, the first cranks of the handle are not going to pull in much line, so it's going to be super slow in the beginning. So the strength of this is second to none. Like this can handle anything, but it's made for use with like 0.28. So I would say in the same situation as you use the Tatula 200. Like 120, 150, 170 gram rods. This is excellent. I know that Fredrik uses the old 50. This is the replacement for the old Ryoga 1520, the black one. It's quite legendary. So it's the same size as the 1520. But I know Fredrik uses this for like 200-300 gram lures, and I mean the durability is very good, extremely high support of the spool and everything like that. But it's a round reel that is very, very smooth, very, very high end, very, very expensive also.
Yeah, I saw the. We can talk about the price actually, because I think the recommended price was like 750 euros, I think.
719 euros.
719.
I have seen it though. Like I said, this is recommended price. This is what
Yeah.
we recommend retailers. But I've seen it in shops for 600 euros. So this is not. These recommended prices are always higher from every brand.
Sure.
But these are the prices that we can communicate. So it's for us it's a 720 euro reel, but nobody sells it for 720 euro. That's just
But it's going to be definitely in the higher price point than if you compare it to the Tatula, for instance, which obviously is a little bit of a different kind of beast, because it's a difference between low profile, high profile reels. And I'm actually coming into that because I'm really happy to see some more development. I think I know that low profile are so much more popular, but I really appreciate high profile reels. The way they fit in the hand, and not the biggest high profile. I've tested everything up to like 5601s on the ambassadors, and they were a little bit too big for my hands, I think. But I tested like the 4601 and the Calcutta Conquest, for example, it's just a little bit smaller, but I really appreciate the feeling of a high profile reel in the hand. And it's just I can't put it in words how the difference feel between when I'm fishing a high profile, but I don't know if it's just the pedigree that I come from, that I've been fishing a lot with high profile reels, and that I have actually my biggest pike is caught on a high profile reel. So it's just I really appreciate it. So I was super happy that you're coming out with a high profile reel. Not as happy that it was the highest price point, because this is going to be off my price chart.
Yeah.
But it's always great fun to see that the high profile gets time and attention also, so you don't forget about it.
Yeah, this is a made in Japan reel, made in the Japanese Japanese Daiwa factories, highest quality control, highest grade materials, highest everything fits. It feels like one piece of metal when you pick it up. It's just absolutely crazy. And this is a reel. We talked earlier in the beginning about there is people that their hobby is only fishing, and there are people that have two hobbies in fishing: gear and fishing. This is a product for a person that has an interesting gear and wants the best because they enjoy it. You don't catch more pike with a Ryoga than you do with a Tatula.
No,
but maybe you're cooler. I don't know. That's up there. And maybe you enjoy it more because you like stuff. I love stuff.
Yeah.
I love stuff. I've caught. It's a funny story actually. I'm really into the high-end Japanese rods and reels from Daiwa.
Yeah.
Really love the Steez for perch fishing. It's a fantastic reel. But I think both my zander PB and my perch PB are taken with reels that cost sub 100 euros. So. If you choose Daiwa, you still get very, very good items for the price, and this is something where you enjoy the gear as much as you enjoy the fishing. Then you look at the Ryoga. If you want something that only fulfills your fishing need, Ryoga, of course, is a very good reel, but it's maybe not the reel that I would recommend to you. If you don't care if the reel says Ryoga or Tatula, choose the Tatula. If you think Ryoga is something really exciting, choose the Ryoga. But it's not for the fishing. It's for your own enjoyment. Of course, it has some improvements. It's more like solid and it has a more advanced casting system and everything like that. But it's also 3 times the price of a Tatula. So.
What would you say would be? I'm sorry if I interrupted you, but what would you say that the major difference between a low profile and a high profile would be? If you would pick out like 1 or 2 things that really set them apart, aside how they look, What would you say are the biggest differences?
Nowadays, I would say it's palmability. That's the biggest difference. Some people like you enjoy palming a round reel. Maybe you're grown up with it. Maybe your hand is a little bit bigger or something like that. But it just feels better to hold, and you feel like you have more control in the rod and reel package. And some people enjoy the lower profile. It's closer to the blank. So if for me, for example, I enjoy the low profile better. Feels better in my hand. I would say that's the biggest difference. I don't. The Ryoga still feels really good in my hand also. But if I have to choose, I would choose a low profile reel for me. So I think that's biggest difference is personal preference. Of course, you can fit bigger gears in a round profile than you can in a low profile.
Yeah.
But I think that that they are so overbuilt for what we need anyways, that practically it doesn't make the biggest difference. Of course, the Ryoga is so smooth, you don't feel anything. It's like reeling in air. And the Tatula is also very smooth, but it's not as smooth as the Ryoga. And if that's because of that it's round, or that it's better material and higher technologies in it, I'm not 100% sure. But that's what I would say. For me, it's a choice of palmability, how it feels in the hand. The rest is okay anyways.
It's actually a thing. I know I've been discussing it before, but I get so many ideas of great episodes that we can actually make, and one thing that I can make, and one thing would be really go in depth in like the differences between high profile and low profile. But I think today the weight over to how many more are buying low profile reels are so big that we'll see how many people would be. You can actually write in the comments if you would like to see a specific episode about the difference between the exact differences between a high profile and low profile. Just write in the comments, and I will make my best to deliver that type of episode for you.
I tried to get the pictures of the new reel that I want to talk about as a first little exclusive for your followers, but I don't know, something is wrong in with the password, so
we can just take it in.
So basically, we are going to release in a couple of weeks or a month or so for Sportfiskemässan in March. Is the release of this? It's the new Prorex TW T-wing system HD 200 reel, and this is a spin-off of the Tatula, but we have made it a little bit more suitable for the Scandinavian market. So what we have done is that we have changed some ball bearings to corrosion resistant ball bearings, because we fish a lot of brackish water in Scandinavia, and we fish a lot of harsh conditions in Scandinavia when it's very cold. So these ball bearings, in my opinion, also they cast a little bit better than the normal high quality ball bearings that Daiwa use. But don't quote me on that. That's the killgissning, as we say in Swedish. I have never measured like you have, but maybe you can. Have you tried the Tatula 300 and the Prorex 300?
Yes.
Which one did cast longer?
I'm guessing now. I don't know for sure. I can see if I have the exact stats for it. No, let's see here. The Tatula 300. I was looking at the Tatula 200. The Tatula 300 got 51.3 meters, and the Prorex reel casted way better with 58.43 meters.
So then my gut feeling is correct, because they have the same ball bearings. So this one has the same ball bearings as the corrosion resistant ball bearings as the Tatula 300. And it also has this hyper tough clutch. So the thumb bar feels much more stiff and is more safe apparently. It's not the point of talking it down. Of course, it's nice to have a stiffer thumb bar, but a lot of people say that it's so important with this hyper tough clutch. I don't know. Maybe this. I've never had the problem. Maybe I don't fish enough. But in cold weather, it's supposed to without this lock. It's not necessarily only a Daiwa thing. Many different reels have it also. But Daiwa's made their own style of it. That is very important in cold weather. So I put it into this Prorex 200. We have the same extremely high quality aluminium housing and brass gear inside, so it's smooth. But we have made the reel handle a little bit bigger with bigger knobs. So there are just small differences compared to the Tatula, but there are differences that are specifically targeted for the Scandinavian market. So corrosion-resistant ball bearings, again, for brackish water and coastal fishing. This hyper tough clutch for when the weather gets really, really cold. And a bigger knobs for, because we fish generally a little bit bigger lures than many other countries. So you get more power in the reel. And then also, this is also killgissning or a gut feeling again. I have the feeling that the coating on the Prorex 200 reel makes the reel not as cold as the Tatula 200. If that's true or not, don't quote me on this. This is not in the specs. This is my gut feeling again. But it's an extremely nice reel, and that will be a little bit more expensive than the Tatula 200, but with high quality ball bearings and bigger cranking handle.
If you actually get a picture of it after this meeting, maybe you can just send it to me, because I'm very interested in looking at the aesthetic difference between the Prorex and the Tatula reel. So if you can send me a picture before editing this clip, I can put it up in the video version for all you guys, because I think a lot of people at home are feeling like, okay, I want to see the actual aesthetic difference between the two reels. And regarding differences between the Tatula, what will be the price point difference between the two?
So I think that the price difference in shops will be around 50 euros maybe. Something like that. Ball bearings
and that would be more, 50 euros more for the Prorex.
For the Prorex 200, yes. Like I said, I don't know exactly. It's hard to say, but my prices say 50 euros more in our recommended retail price. So high quality ball bearings are, pardon the French, fucking expensive. So that's what you're paying for mainly with this reel.
So it's a good thing to know for all you guys fishing in brackish waters, and if you want to see some better casting performance, then that's where your money is going to end up in higher performance. So it's just a good thing to know.
We're also coming out with an entry-level pike reel, a bigger one, 300 size, with a recommended price of 179 euros. And like I said, it was 100 euros cheaper on the Ryoga, so it's in the shop, so it's not going to cost 179. My guess is around 1,500 SEK, or somewhere in that area. Do
you have some specs for that? Because that sounds
and this is
awesome.
This is a product that I am quite happy about. This is a big
reel. The PT. Was it the PT 100 or the PT 150 that you had before for the entry level for
PR 100 for
PR 100
for perch. I have my old zander PB on that one. Great reel. And this one is basically, it's made to be a powerhouse. A powerhouse that can handle everything. But then we thought about, okay, what is the most important part with a entry level reel or a little bit cheaper reel? That the function is really good. And how can we at Daiwa make the function extremely good with the technologies that we have without the price running away? And the easiest way to do that is to include our patented casting system. So this reel has a mag force casting system, which is extremely easy to use, and I don't know if you can say safe to use, but it's easy to use. And of course, you want something that's very rigid, so it has an aluminium body, aluminium spool, so it's very, very heavy duty. It has a stainless gear shaft, everything. But the main difference is that we have put in the mag, compared to other competitors, is that we have put in the Magforce casting system that is like our non-contact magnetic brake system. We can have a video going through this technology some other time, but it's very easy to use, very easy to set up. You get a reel that is super rigid, extremely heavy duty, and you are just set to go straight away. Put some line on, go out, and it doesn't matter if it's a 20 kilo pike or a 3 kilo pike, this reel will handle it. Doesn't matter if it's a 50 gram lure or a 500 gram lure, this reel will handle it. So that was the goal. And with the Daiwa twist, everybody can make a okay bait caster, but how can we make a bait caster in this price point that is more than okay? That is something that we would like to use, and without the price running away. And that our solution to this was, of course, high grade aluminium, but with a casting system, so you can get the casting distance and the ease of use. Big 110 millimeter handle and big knobs, and it's a powerhouse. It's a tank.
Yeah. So can we see some specs maybe? If we, so it's one version of it.
It's one version. Yeah, it's one version. Our 13 kilo drag. You can fit how much line you want on it. This like 0.24, 300 meter. I don't know. It's what it says on the box. In my opinion, it's not so useful. Put 0.30 on this one and put a full spool of it on it. It's a little bit heavier reel, so it fits perfectly on the longer rods, like you discussed, that you like for easy pike fishing. We have put in quite a lot of ball bearings to have good support and have a smooth experience for the price, and a normal 6.4 crank. Our thinking with this is that most people that fish a little bit enjoy more fishing in the little bit warmer month, end of spring, beginning of autumn. So instead of having many different options, we just have the one option that is a little bit faster, but not high speed in any way, but a little bit faster, because it makes it easier to speed it up a little bit if you fish the jerkbaits, pick up the slack line and stuff like that. So this is meant to be an entry-level reel with Daiwa quality, strong brake, good casting system, aluminium, no plastic. Feels really, really good. I've used it. Feels excellent for the price. If you want your first pike fishing reel, this is a really good one, but it's a big one also. So this is like the one to do it all. With the smaller reels, and you want to do it all, maybe you need two reels. You need a 200 and a 300 reel. But this reel is 300, and it can do it all, especially with longer rods, basically. So that is of course, we want to do some fun with it. So of course, it has a drag clicker. Everybody needs a drag clicker. And once again, aircraft grade aluminium in it. It's very, very good reel for the money, and something that I can recommend.
I'm so happy to see that, because this is something that I've really missed out when it comes to the market. Because when you look at like because I think this reel will be for like let's say $14.99, $13.99 in Swedish shops. That is just my guess, and it's finding a sub bait caster that is actually good for pike fishing in that price range has been extremely difficult. Because a lot of people have, or a lot of manufacturers and dealers have had the price tag of 200 euros plus, and that was actually like the entry point. So on some like Black Friday sales, you can find maybe a Tatula or a Corrado that I think are the lowest price point that is actually worth the money, and then you can find them at like 180 or 190 euros in that price category. So to find something that comes in sub 150 euros is, I think a lot of people will be really happy about it. I would have loved to see it was a little bit lighter than 335 grams. Let's say that it would stop at like 305, 310 grams, but that's my personal preference and what I see when I balance rods. But otherwise, I mean, at the price point, it's just it will be so much fun to try this one out. And this is actually one of the news that I feel most happy about, because I know there's going to be so many people that finally we get a reel that has price and quality performance that is actually matching up for a beginner. So great job. I'm really happy that you've taken this decision.
And also with the weight, our main priority with this one was to deliver something that is very strong. And very reliable. And very reliable. That was something that is important. Once again, going back to you good gear is something that you don't think about. This reel, in my opinion, fulfills that, and that was the main topic when we designed this reel, that we wanted something that is, it's gonna hold up. Whatever you do with it, it's gonna hold up, and of course that also makes the weight go up a little bit. But you have to, in reels in this price range, you cannot get everything, unfortunately. Not at this moment. Maybe in a couple of years it's possible, but not right now. So you need to, you don't want a too heavy reel. I think 330 gram is still very much usable, and there are heavier reels out there. But it's a big reel with a lot of line capacity that is very, very solid, extremely reliable, and has the Daiwa twist on it with the Daiwa quality where it matters, basically, to keep the cost down. So
I can just mention that about the weight, that if you look at a more high-end type of wheel, if you look at the new Tranx B from Shimano, I think that actually weighs like 330 or 335 grams. So this is not it's like a huge difference on more high-end reels. But it's just I really appreciate the 310 gram limit. So that is my subjective and personal preference. But just a great, like I said, this is a thing that I believe that a lot of my followers and the type of viewers that I have, they will really appreciate this, that you make a reel that is of great quality at a great price point for a baitcaster, because it's been, I mean, we have had the SLX, for instance, from Shimano for perch that has been sub 100 euros, and it's been my great pick when it comes to baitcaster for perch because of the price point. So it's just a great thing to see that someone picks up the ball on a better priced baitcaster for pike fishing. So looking forward to it. And actually our time has blown away. We could sit and talk for hours, obviously, but we actually need to finish things up a little bit. And you did actually talk about a lure, because we're talking about rods and reels, and you mentioned that there's actually a new spinnerbait coming out for pike.
You want to see that one, of course. Pike Knights want to see pike lures. Let's check it out.
So we can have that as a final note. So we get some, because obviously, like I said, there's a lot of news coming out, and just join the web page that Daiwa had, the new web page, so you can also see the updated version of it. But obviously, go in and see all the updates in colors and lures. But you mentioned some of the lures before this meeting started, and you talked about the spinnerbait, and I would really like to see how it looks like, and what's the thoughts and usage of it.
Okay, I cannot do like that. So we have to check it a little bit. Maybe I can do like this. So this is how the spinnerbait looks, and the twist on this one is, of course, as well. If you watch the screen, you can see it at least. But if you're only listening, you cannot see it. The blade is much closer to the head. And we have did a lot of trial and testing. We noticed that this version of a spinnerbait has extremely good hookup ratio. So that is the main reason why this blade is so further in the front. Another option is also, everybody knows how annoying it is when everything bends and it doesn't work well anymore after a couple of pikes. So we have tried to minimize that situation by also having a little bit shorter arm. And it worked out really well. Hookup ratio went up. Durability went up. We have 4 really nice colors. Of course, we have our IU. We always have IU. And we have 2 really shock colors like Fire Tiger and Orange Tiger. And we have a motor oil version as well. And one thing that is important to me with spinnerbaits in general is that the color of the blade sometimes, in my opinion, is more important than the color of the skirt. So I made sure that every single spinnerbait has some sort of color. So we have a clear water, muddy water, low light. Fire Tiger always works. Everybody knows that. So that is the thing with this really strong hook, 1.4 millimeter wire on the arm, and yeah, it's a really good pike spinnerbait with high quality, no lead in it, which is important for environmental friendly lures. So if you're fishing a lot of, I don't know what's in English, stubvass, maybe you know, cut down reeds, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or you live in the Stockholm area and you fish a lot in Lake Mälaren. This one has delivered very nicely in those situations. So
what's the actual size of it?
So the actual size, I don't know exactly. So the total weight of it is 55 grams, hook size 6.0 and 5.0. Maybe 20 centimeters from tie-in to hook, end of hook. I'm not 100% sure. It's big enough. It's a pike spinnerbait. It's not a small spinnerbait. I don't know exactly the long one, but I live in Stockholm, so I fish a lot of spinnerbaits, and this one is big enough. It's an actual pike spinnerbait, and the price is quite reasonable also. So the RRP and the recommended price, like we talked before, is 13.9 euros. So if we are lucky, maybe the shops will even sell them some 100 SEK. And for Daiwa quality with 1.4 millimeter wire, it's quite good. One good thing to say also is that you get 2 different blades in the package. You get one willow and one Colorado. So if you want to fish it deeper, you can use the willow because it pushes less water. Or if you want to fish it in heavy cover or shallow water, you can use the Colorado because it pushes away grass and stuff, and it pushes the lure higher up. So you get both of those options in one package. So this one has been really good. I have not caught any huge pikes on it, but the testing the testing was excellent. You don't need a trailer on it. Also, I really like these ones. This was like you see the small legs here.
Yeah.
These were introduced mainly for bass spinnerbaits where they wanted double hooks, but I don't know why no pike spinnerbait had them. Because they swim a little bit behind, like a wave, and makes very, very nice action. So we put them on the pike spinnerbaits. I have not seen any pike spinnerbait with these things on them, but they work really good and give a good action. So you don't need to have a rubber behind it. And the rubber is the right length also, so the hookup is the hookup. The main point with this one is that the whole hookup is extremely good. It's durable, and the hooks are extremely sharp and the right thickness. It's no musky hooks, but it's also no bass hooks, so it's really good hooks on it.
Yeah, this is actually a great thing because I've been thinking a lot about spinnerbaits lately because I'm longing for like when the summer, exactly. So fishing in reeds and you know, aggressive pike during summer nights and those kind of things. So I think about like hook sets and size of hooks and the action of different spinnerbaits. So it's great that we get some different angles on spinnerbaits because just like you mentioned, I tested a lot of smaller spinnerbaits that are mostly made for American bass fishing spinnerbaits, so not as big as pike, and they just 2 pikes and they were like they were devastated. So it's great that you've gone a length in thinking and developing already known format and making some new twitches of it. So it's going to be great fun to see some samples of this, and obviously compare it in size and see the colors and how they react in water, and how pike react to it. So nice.
They cast quite well also. It's not so much pressure in the water, and we made the weight of it, so it's enjoyable to fish on a spinning setup. I know a lot of people enjoy fishing spinnerbaits on a spinning rod because the big blade makes it annoying to cast. That's just nothing you can do about it. If you remove it, it's not a spinnerbait anymore. So that's just how it is. So we made the weight 55 grams, so it's enjoyable to cast on a spinning rod for most people. I know you cast a lot heavier stuff on a spinning bait, spinning rod, but in my opinion, after 70-80 grams, I don't really enjoy fishing on a spinning rod anymore. I think the timing gets hard because it digs down too hard in the fingers, so I get the casts that are not extremely good, and this one is just the perfect weight, so you can have a strong enough rod to really rip the grass or the reeds and set the hook and big pikes, but it's light enough so you can, like I said, fish it easily on a spinning rod. So that is there are many. It's a spinnerbait, but there are some tweaks that we have made and really thought about how can we just not be another spinnerbait on the market, but how can we actually make something that would make a difference without losing the identity of a spinnerbait. And this is we are very happy with this one, and test fishing, the action, mainly action, was tested, and it has been very good, and hopefully now when it comes out we will see a lot of people catch big pikes on it. It's hard with these kind of lures because the season is so short, and we get samples, in November, October. It's hard to catch a lot of pike on a spinnerbait in November.
It's going to change during May, so I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
So
super.
Awesome. It's now been a great time talking to you, Viktor. Always a pleasure. I really appreciate your time and effort, and it really seems that you're making an effort to change things regarding gear at Daiwa. Really listening into your audience, if you want to call that, on the pike and perch fishing and zander fishing arena here in Scandinavia. So we really appreciate the effort and obviously your time talking to us. And I hope we see each other soon regarding maybe some episodes about fluorocarbon and braided line, and obviously testing all the different type of gear that's coming out during this spring. So huge thanks. We will be at
Sportfiskemässan also. If you want to touch and feel anything of what we talked about today, you can do it there. We can have a discussion if you have questions.
Yeah, I will be there and filming all type of gear. So just like last year. So we'll. I hope I will see you before that. But regarding how many things we have, both you and me have a crazy schedule until the sport fishing fair in Sweden. So we'll see each other at the fair.
And there's actually one thing. If any of your followers have some suggestions what they would like to know more about, we have a fishing info part on our new website. This website is just launched, so right now we have how to choose the right rod and how to choose the right spinning reel. So if you have any things that you would like us to talk about in this kind of blog style posts, please let Mats know or Pike Knights know, and he will let me know, hopefully, and we can make some more information out there, because I think that it's good to have information from Scandinavia, from Scandinavian situations, not only checking over at the USA all the time.
For sure.
Super duper.
Nice.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a lot of fun, and you know me, I can talk about fishing forever. So it's good that you said now it's enough. We don't want to hear your voice anymore. I will continue my moving. I'm in the middle of a move and have Sportfiskemässan plans. So I am a busy man right now. So I will continue packing up stuff.
Well, best of luck, and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everyone who had the patience to listen about everything we had to say.